What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Worcester Sucks Power Hour. We are doing an emergency episode to wish Stephen Sargent a wonderful retirement after 37 years on the force. Well-deserved, and it has nothing at all to do with the myriad high-profile, well-publicized scandals in the past few weeks. It has nothing to do with that. Stephen Sargent retired because he's a good boy and he did a lot of good work and he deserves a break. So, case closed. End of story. Nothing else to see here. Brian or Brendan, do you have any well wishing for the police chief who retired on his own accord?
Definitely. I know. Just wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors and hobbies. I mean, it's probably like shipbuilding and something weird like that in bottles.
Yeah,
drifting, drift racing, swerving, and things. Those type of things.
Running people over with his car. He'll have a lot more time to do that. He'll have a lot more time to do that, and it won't be that. It won't be as big a deal when he does it when he's not the police chief, right? So that's good. Yeah. That's definitely good.
Where will he do it though, and who will he do it to? The police station.
The parking lot of the police station is public property. You don't have to be the police chief to go there. And you can run over anyone you please after they don't shake your hand.
What if he does a burnout on the police mural?
Oh my God, that'd be so sick. He reveals himself to be the one that did the burnout on the Black Lives Matter mural in 2020. He's like, it was me all along. Ha ha. So today we're going to bring on Rob Bellotta, District 2 City Council candidate, and talk about that. But we decided to get all these Stephen Sargent jokes out of our system first because, I mean, come on. The news broke at, 1 p.m. today? Mm-hmm. They were trying to do a Labor Day news dump, but really did not dump it at the right time.
You gotta do that 4:45.
4:45, 5 o'clock, because you're leaving way too much of an afternoon for riffing.
There it is.
So the Telegram and everyone else who picked up this press release in the city would have you believe that Stephen Sargent is just retiring in a normal way under normal circumstances because he deserves it. Which is insane. And if you go on Twitter, you'll see Kate Toomey already getting out ahead of this, saying, thank you to Chief Stephen Sargent for his wonderful 37 years of service, and we have many deputy chiefs who will be great to fill in the role. And we're just going to pretend that this didn't happen.
You know how like when you retire and you do it the same day that you announce it that you're going to retire?
Yeah, right. Yeah, when it's effective immediately. Retirements are always effective immediately.
Yeah,
there's no 2 week notice.
Effective immediately means guilty. That's what that is English for guilty.
I guess that's the part that really bums me out about this, though, is like the majority of the city is just going to take this as, oh yeah, like he put in his 37 years and retired the day before a long weekend and left us without a police chief, and that's perfectly normal.
Yeah, after being chief for 1.5 years.
Never going to tie it together with a failure to report like a significant incident to the post commission, like never going to get into the weeds on our human resources department, the relationship with the current city manager and the former city manager. It's like, it's just sad because that narrative that we're laughing at, we should probably just accept, like the three of us, because it is the narrative that the city of Worcester is going to embrace and run with.
Right. We're literally shouting into a void, trying to suggest otherwise. What were you going to say, Brian?
I was going to say, well, what about the narrative that we're not even really like getting into? The probably the deeper, more likely thing is that it only ever came out because somebody wanted his job. So somebody else in the police department wanted his job. Right. And so like, guess we better make this public. Otherwise, they would have covered. There would have been no scandal. We never would have heard about it.
Right. So I have the article pulled up, and we should get into this because what day is it? It's September 1st, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make yesterday August 31st. I'm not wrong about that.
Correct.
Or would it be 2 days ago? 1 day ago? 2 days ago? In any case, the same newspaper that is now writing about Stephen Sargent's retirement as if it's in a vacuum, a day or two ago put up a story headlined, City Manager, investigation of Worcester Police Chief will be reported to the state. Lead paragraph here. City Manager Eric Batista acknowledged Thursday that a 2021 investigation of Police Chief Stephen Sargent should have been reported to the state's recently created Police Oversight Board, and said the city is in the process of reporting it. Whoopsies! Oh shit! We forgot to report. We forgot to report our internal investigation of the police chief for hilarious crimes to the state. But he definitely is now, a day or two later, just retiring. This has nothing to do with it. Let me see. Let's smash the link.
Did you guys hear like that the Telegram? The reason they like took their name off the building is because they're moving into a goldfish bowl because they have a 5-minute memory.
Yeah. So in this story by Brad Patrician, who really I think deserves credit for the undoing of Stephen Sargent. In this story that runs 2 days ahead of Police Chief Stephen Sargent's sudden retirement, he writes, as the TNG reported earlier this month, a 2021 investigation found that Sargent engaged in a pattern of inappropriate behavior toward an officer in the service division. And that pattern of inappropriate behavior, let me pull up the link here, involves trying to hit him with his car. I know that one for sure, but the officer, Robert Belsito, of the Court Liaison Unit, alleges that Sargent drove his department-issued vehicle recklessly at his cruiser on April 15th, and that the chief is retaliating against him despite an ongoing investigation into Sargent's conduct. To Belsito's lawyers quoted saying, the overt and brazen retaliatory conduct of Chief Sargent has gone unfettered by the city's administration. You don't say.
Well, how could they fetter it? Because Eric Batista never heard about it until the public records request.
Yeah. Oh, I never heard about that one.
Oh shit. That must have happened under the last administration, which I wasn't the deputy of. Yeah,
I should definitely throw the guy who got me the job under the bus. It was all Ed Augustus's fault, not mine. That will never come back to haunt me in Massachusetts politics that I'm doing that. Simply incredible. And I mean, if the city council is going to make this, if anything, we're going to see like a retirement farewell key to the city plaque. Issued to the police.
They should give him a car key to the city.
Yeah. Here, recklessly drive over City Hall. But I don't know, man. It's just crazy, and there's no good, real alternative to Stephen Sargent in the police department, to my mind. I mean, there's a lot of speculation on who's gonna take the throne now that he's gone, but it does speak to how pressing this was that they did not name a replacement before announcing his retirement. It's like an interim chief will be announced soon, so we'll just have to wait and see. My thing though, let's just see how not having a police chief goes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get through Labor Day weekend probably just fine. Maybe we don't need one, that would be
just let the Facebook page handle things for a while.
Right. Yeah. We'll just let the police union page handle all
run the 504 union page through Chat GPT, and then we'll see what decisions it comes up with.
I mean, if there's no police chief, Anthony Petroni doesn't have anyone to apologize to when he doxes a child, right? So, I mean, that's good for him. That's awful convenient. But I think probably now's a good time to bring on our guest today. Right? See if he's doxed any children. Hey, Rob.
No, I have not. What's going on, guys?
Oh, that's good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. How are you doing today, Rob?
I'm good, man. Good. Staying busy. Doing a lot of hitting the pavement for campaigning and doing all the door knocking and mailers and phone banks. So it's been a marathon, but it's been fun. Yeah, it's been great connecting with folks all over the district and but staying busy for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a big day for you on Tuesday, the preliminary elections. It's you up against Kenny Merrill Carlson and Phil Palmieri, and 2 people are going to come out on top. How are you feeling about it? You feeling good?
Yeah, I feel that we've been getting a lot of good responses from people. From getting a lot of good feedback. Feeling, optimistic about it. I don't want to obviously get too fried of myself, but it's been like we've been getting a lot of good feedback and just hearing from folks throughout the district about what their concerns are with street safety, pedestrian safety, or affordable housing, or just learning about what's been going on in their neighborhoods. So I'm feeling pretty good, and it's been great connected with everyone, and we're getting more people are paying attention now as we get closer. So we're getting more support.
Yeah, for sure.
Are those the issues that
They're good.
you're hearing the most about when you're on doors or meeting people in the district? The ones you mentioned already?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I know trash and like a lot of the basic stuff. Street infrastructure, sidewalk infrastructure. I know in neighborhoods close to some of the grade schools, pedestrian safety. I've heard a lot, and another thing that I've heard just from folks is that no one is that over the moon about all the new development. There's more people. I've heard more people concerned about like what is this going to do to our schools? What is this going to do to infrastructure that we have? I know. Some folks that are on the fire department, that are saying, this is going to be a huge population boom. I don't know if the city, I'll be really looking at all the pieces that comes with this influx of folks. So I think, and that's something that definitely I, want to focus on. But people are more concerned about all these new developments and don't seem that excited about it. So I think more people can take it or leave it. But residents, I think, are definitely feeling concerned about like what impacts this
Sure.
boom's going to have.
Well, see, I don't buy that, because the Chamber of Commerce says that it's all going great and it's good.
Yeah.
So I don't
it's
know.
Gravy.
I don't know if I can buy that. And your opponent, quite famously, Kenny Merrill Carlson, voted for Eric Batista basically on the grounds that the developers like him. Is the only thing that she said about it. And I was at a forum, I can't remember which one, but you said something blasphemous at that forum. I remember it got tweeted out that we should care more about city residents than developers. And I just want to give you an opportunity to explain yourself, man, because that is a crazy thing to say around here. That is.
I don't know. I don't know what I would. What was I thinking? No, we definitely. That's what really spurred me to run. Is just I don't see us prioritizing the right things. We're too concerned about ribbon cuttings and putting up these big new developments, and we're not focusing enough on our neighborhoods and people that have been here that are new, relatively new or brand new to the city, or folks that have been here, for 2-3 generations. We're not. We can't just like measure our success in how many new buildings we put up that aren't affordable for the majority of Worcester residents. We need to figure out like how are we going to do improve schools, improve city services, improve like equitable and inclusive government and more transparent government. And I'm really running for city council because I want to work and improve quality of life for folks all over District 2, not just in specific neighborhoods. I think that there's more we could do for other like commercial districts like Lincoln Street. I know like my neighborhood, like the top of Hamilton Street, has a cluster of really some really great stores that have been there for a while, and I think we could do more to improve things throughout District 2, and I think it's not impossible to get that stuff done. Like I think about the double wide sidewalk that went up behind is. Along Green, like next to Green Street, like for pedestrians to walk to Polar Park, like that went up pretty quick. But yet other things that are going on for residents, things take forever. So I don't buy that. I think there's more. I think it's as a city council, it's your job to constantly be pushing for these things, and not it's okay not to always agree with what the chamber says and what the city manager says, and sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't, and that's okay. That's government in action.
Rob, if you
So-
had to, what is your campaign's belief on the proper number of millions of gallons of raw sewage to be in Lake Quinsigamond? I know that is adjacent to your neighborhood and district. How many millions
Yeah.
of gallons should we be shooting for?
Well,
per
you want
annual?
to, around like 4th of July, you really want to smell it. That's
Okay.
really what you
Yeah.
want. That's the key, the key number, the key, no, but it's bad. Like I've lived nearby Lake Quinsigamond my whole life. My father was an environmental police officer. He did patrols down on Lake Quinsigamond. So I've grown up with knowing about the challenges at Lake Quinsigamond. I think Lake Quinsigamond is a body of water that the city has really neglected and we haven't put enough resources into. That sewage overflow down at the pump station happens like clockwork every single summer.
Right.
And every single summer, that Regatta Point Beach is closed down for residents. So I know it's having all the stormwater runoff that runs into the lake is a problem. I think we need to do more, put some like catchment basins or things that can improve. So a lot of the streams like run into the basin and sediment settles and then it goes into the lake. We got to do more to protect that body of water, I think. And especially now with all the rain we had this year, you think about all the parking lots and everything that just gets flooded and it goes washes right into Lake Quincy. So we got to do more to improve that and patrol it for safety. I think I know the Worcester Fire boat that they have down there is in rough shape. So we got to, I think, focus more on. I know Shrewsbury definitely has a leg up on Worcester when it comes to investing resources into patrolling Lake Quincy or improving environmental protections for it. So we got to do.
That's
more
all they got going on over there, though.
Yeah.
Pretty snoozer of a town.
Would you support annexing Buster Rhymes Island?
I would. I want. We need to
Yes.
to develop Buster Rhymes Island, and
Right.
we need to put a big high rise there. And 80% AMI is all right. We'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. They get a pass over there. Buster Rhymes Island, they get a pass. They're cool.
I think it's hilarious that someone just took the time to name that.
Right. Yeah.
Little things like that on Google Maps always or you'll see someone that on Google Maps Street View. I remember one of my friends, like his younger brother was just like on his bike staring at the camera, like, what's going on?
Rob, what is the shirt you got going on here? This
is like some limited edition Coney Island shirt I got.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
For Father's Day, I got my dad one, and I couldn't pass up getting myself one too. So
that's sick.
I feel like that's like a tradition. I just remember going to Coney Island when I was a little kid. So it'd be like, who are those sad men on the other side of the bar there? And before I know it, I'm 25 sitting at the bar eating a hot dog and drinking a beer. God bless Coney Island, dude. It's a treasure. I love that place.
Yeah. So we probably should have asked this first, but for people who don't know you, give us a short biography. Who are you? Why are you getting into the race?
Yeah, I grew up in District 2, pretty much lived in District 2 my entire life. Went to Lakeview School, went to East Middle, went to North High, graduated North High in 2004. But I've always been like just from the neighborhood, someone that's really always grown up like, really caring about the city. Parents were always involved with, working on other folks' campaigns, but just kind of grew up always like kind of politically minded and community minded for sure. I went to Worcester State College for communications, and then discovered urban studies. So graduated, with both of those degrees, communications and urban studies, and then from there, being someone with a disability, it was challenging to find work. So I was fortunate enough to get a job at Center for Living and Working, which is a great independent living center here in Worcester that provides services for people with disabilities. And then from there, my skills trainer helped me get the job. And then my buddy Steve Stolberg, he was serving on then the Disability Commission. Now it's the Access Advisory Commission, and said, "Hey, you should join us." So I threw my name in there and got on that commission. I served on the Disability Commission for 5 years, and I was chairperson for 1 year. So that was, a lot of fun. We did a lot of great work for the disability community, trying to raise awareness around public accessibility issues. But we also worked on improving getting accessible taxis back on the road, wheelchair accessible taxis, which is, I wish Worcester had, accessible Ubers. We don't have that out here. but having at least some on-demand transportation with accessible taxis was great. But I've always been focused on just improving quality of life for folks in the city. Go to North High, grew up in a real diverse area and a diverse group of friends. So I really have always seen that as obviously like a strong asset for the city. And everyone has so many different. We see so many different communities that everyone from Worcester is from somewhere else originally, and I think even I know Bill, you've been reading the book 8 Hours for What We Will.
Yeah,
that's a great book, and that was like a huge, just a great book that I learned about from studying urban studies, and that just talks about how everyone is always Worcester's always been a huge immigrant city. So I think we got to make sure that as we move forward, our everything we do includes everyone, and that we try to make sure the city's growing in an equitable way and one that values all our voices and sees our diversity as an asset.
Right.
And what I said, yeah.
Would you support, going off of 8 Hours, What We Will, would you support the long Irish American immigrant tradition of chasing a greased pig on the 4th of July? Should we start doing that?
Chasing the greasy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
we gotta chase the greasy, folks. You heard it here.
Yeah, you gotta chase. That was my 5th birthday. What are you talking about? I'm quarter Irish, so I know that. Yeah, that's the great thing to learn about that book is all just the wild stuff that would go on back in the day, and all the what do they call those shebeens, where people was like women would open up their parlors and is that what, dude? Maybe that's where it came from.
I had that thought too. They named shaboons after the shebeens of old.
Oh my god,
that'd be sick.
My parents met at Shabooms.
Oh wow! Oh my!
My parents met there.
Listen.
That's why when I was younger, I was like, I am not stepping foot in Shabooms.
All right, game over.
This is too weird.
Hey, you win.
That's the most Worcester origin story of all time. You cannot have more Worcester origin story than that.
So that yeah, seriously. Besides like my mother, who's Sheila, and then her last name is Bellata. So many names like that. Sorry. Speaking of doxing, I just doxed my own mother on the stream. Sorry, Ma.
We don't hold back on this show.
This is Worcester, baby. We got to do it.
But yeah, I think it's cool just to learn it, and especially with the parks too. And I think that book talks a lot about all the different parks and the role that like organized play has in society, and I think it showcases how Worcester's always been a big park city too, and where I think the Parks Department has done over the past like 5-6 years a great job of really renovating a lot of parks. And I hope that's something I think we could do more to make sure our parks are more accessible and that we have more equitable recreation opportunities throughout District 2. So it's not just for league play, but whereas people like there's that roller skating group that is looking for like a suitable court to just to skate on, to have a public skate. So I think there's more types of like, quote, like alternative or just group activities that are recreational that we need to make sure that we have more space for.
Right.
Especially accessible recreation.
Right. So like as a city councilor, how would you approach that? How would you go about that idea of equitable recreation?
Yeah, I think so. One way for really at the top of my list is improving more our summer access, making sure that like our beaches are staffed, like Indian Lake Beach, Bell Pond, Coast Pond. Obviously in the district, we want to make sure that and throughout the city that our these waterways are staffed and safe. But I think there's ways that we can improve accessibility for folks that use wheelchairs too, like to have wheelchair accessible beach mats at some of these locations would be great. And also like beach wheelchairs. I know, like I saw over the summer, the town of Lexington just got like 2 beach wheelchairs. I think Worcester has 1. I'd love to be wrong about that. But I mean, we're definitely behind when it comes to providing recreational opportunities for kids and young adults with disabilities. So I think we could really start with there. And I think Worcester, we have such a great group of institutions of higher education and UMass and all these other big community institutions in Worcester that I think as a city councilor you can knock on some doors and say, hey, would you be willing to help out and contribute to creating a better access for residents in the city. So I think there's ways we can pool resources and just pull in community investment from other folks. But I think making sure these places are staffed not just with police but with lifeguards and make sure that these places are open throughout the summer.
Yeah, the
That'd be
lifeguard
number one.
The lifeguard thing is just a really sort of like depressing problem to me. To just think about like how we have these parks and these beaches, and there's just days where like cops are sitting there making sure no one swims, which is just insane. It's just absolutely insane to me. Do you have any thoughts on the lifeguard issue in particular and how the city might solve that problem?
Well, I think I can understand why some young folks might be hesitant to after the incident that happened. Was it not two summers ago or whatever? And that was really a sad thing that happened. But again, maybe, I think it's important to have lifeguards there, but also to have cops stop by and do details. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a great way for them to engage in the community and provide safety and be there to handle situations that lifeguards, shouldn't have to handle themselves. But I think, if we can invest more money into the recreation and boost the pay that comes for lifeguards, and again, this could be maybe a way where all our community institutions would contribute, to a fund to increase that or different. I just think there's different ways we can pool resources. Like I remember back in 2008 when a lot of the city's pools were closing down, that they did this Wheels to Water program, and they coordinated that with I forget some other groups that put it together, but it was a great way that there was a crisis and they figured out how can we provide transportation to some of the pools. But it's definitely frustrating to see like recreation like this continue to not be addressed proactively. So I mean, it's something we got to that the council, the city council, you're going to start thinking about back in February, not in the middle of June.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's like very surprising the day school gets out. They're like, oh, nothing we can do this year.
We'll figure it out next year.
Good luck, kids.
So hey, Rob, why, in your opinion, is the Worcester City Council like that? Why is the Worcester City Council just what it is? Why do they?
Honestly, I think there's people that have been on council for a while. I think everything has a shelf life, and I think sometimes, again, with the political apathy and low voter turnout, I think some councils are able to coast and sometimes not think proactively and progressively and think, all right, and raise some issues. That's why, like, when I was part of the Affordable Housing Coalition, like working with Councillor Hajiye, it was just great to see, oh wow, the city councilor like has a big idea for the city that's really going to work to improve quality of life and led the charge on that. So I think you don't see enough of that on the city council. And I understand as a district council, a lot of your job is dealing with small issues, but there's still important issues, to individuals and residents. But I think, one thing that we just need to start thinking of new ideas and stop thinking that this can't be done. And I think there's also a culture of having this Worcester inferiority complex. Like, again, with the developers, like so many city councils will worry that if they push too hard, developers are going to walk away. Where there's been like kind of a slow trickle of development happening over the past decade, which has been great. It's working. But we need to stop being so afraid that we need outside resources to grow. And I mean, obviously in today's economy you do, but I think we don't value enough what's here already. And I think that is unfortunate. And so, I think that's why sometimes things just don't, there's not any ideas or new ideas for sure. It's more of the same.
Why do you think, well, like, I guess this is a bigger question, but why do you think that they're so often beholden to developers? Like, what is the upside for any individual counselor to be that like beholden?
Yeah. I think again it just goes back to like, oh, we need to do this or else Worcester's not going to grow. Or I think it's again maybe is people valuing too much of what the Chamber of Commerce has to say over what residents are saying, over what residents are expressing, and that certainly happened like with the inclusionary zoning and myself and no one else in the coalition, no one thought that the inclusionary zoning was going to like fix anything, like not fix anything. I shouldn't say that, but it wasn't going to be like a magic wand. It wasn't going to fix, but it would have pushed things in a better direction and made sure that
Right.
Worcester got something out of this development. So it's just, I don't know. I think, certain councillors see it as a feather in their cap to say, look at all this new development. But again, that I think that shouldn't be the only way you measure success. You can't just say, look at all these big new buildings we have. We're doing great. That's not the.
That's fucking crazy.
Rob, what is related? Now that you've been out working a campaign trail for the season, what would you attribute? Because you mentioned low voter turnout. I think you'd probably say low registration overall. What would you attribute that to after having talked to registered voters versus being able to walk by or roll by the entire streets that don't have any registered voters on?
I think I think it just comes to people. A lot of the leadership isn't out there engaging too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's you see again leadership really reaching out to the communities that continue to vote and not understanding that there's reasons why some people aren't voting. They aren't sure of what's going on, or there's ways. I think part of the job as a city councilor is to kind of be a billboard too, and to be out there and educating more folks and trying to engage with people throughout the district. So I think it just comes down to the people not trying to be more vocal or councils just getting out there more to say, hey, we need more voters. But it is concerning. I mean, we looking on the districts, like certain precincts vote more than others, but I think it cuts both ways. So I think as a city councilor, I would definitely try to do more just to engage with underrepresented communities and see where the disconnect is, mm-hmm. and see where I could help change that.
I'm curious to hear if you've had any experiences, any anecdotes to share about people who haven't been interested in municipal politics at all, aren't voters, that you've been able to reach or talk to, and sort of what those conversations are like.
Well, I think it's weird. So I think so many folks seem to get more fired up about the national politics and kind of base everything off that, but yet so many people don't have an understanding of what's going on in their own backyard. And I think that's starting to change. I think a lot of people our age are starting to be feel more invested, and I think we're getting a lot more. With some of the new development in Worcester, or with people moving west, we're getting a lot more people from different areas that are bringing different perspectives. But it's just some people just aren't as engaged for life. People are busy with different things, and some folks. But again, if there's nothing really that interesting happening on council, and if council isn't really trying to push to really make real change, I can understand why some people don't pay attention. I've heard from a lot of folks it's pointless. I've heard that too. Why am I going to vote? Nothing's going to change, and that's, I think, just I can understand where people get jaded, especially if you've lived here your whole life. But not engaging doesn't do anything either.
So that's what we say to people all the time. So few people in the city actually vote that your vote actually does count for
your vote counts a lot.
30 times what it should.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, last election cycle, Jonathan Dance came very close to beating Candy with very little name recognition or campaign infrastructure or anything. And when it's a contest that can be decided by literally dozens of votes, there should be some sort of appeal that you're not going to win anything at all screaming at your TV thinking the Democrats are the good guys or the Republicans are the good guys, but in a local election you can actually make a difference. It's the caring can be rewarded in some way, right? Which is novel these days.
Weird.
It was very weird. But I guess I'm curious to hear what was the sort of inciting incident for your wanting to be a city councilor? What was the thing that made you feel okay, this is the year, this is the time that I'm going to run?
For me, it was really two things. Back in 2020, I had stepped down from the Access Advisory Commission, then Disability Commission, and for me, one of the things was them deciding to change the name of it, because I think I don't see the word disability as a negative, and I think access advisory is too vague, and I worry that it was kind of, being done in a way purposely, and also, with this reorganization of the DEI thing, that I found that concerning as a disability advocate, that again, like our community's concerns or have the potential to get buried underneath the reorganization of DEI. So that was the number of concern, and just the disability community not being recognized as a community and not being listened to and heard. I mean, so we would do so many activities with, or we call them wheelchair strolls with city councilors. The mayor, I think, did one DPW staff to show them, challenging sidewalks. And I remember we were on Shrewsbury Street like 2017, and nothing's changed, nothing happened. So it's frustrating to see that. But then the big one was, again, this past year with the inclusionary zoning, and seeing us pack the city council chamber. When I say us, I say Worcester residents, not just advocates, not just people that are stirring the pot, as Councillor George Russell alluded to, saying that this is a group of advocates that are, encouraging people to come. No, this is a group of advocates sharing information, and residents decided to come out and say, hey, this isn't going to work. You need to, and you need to do more to push affordability for Worcester residents in all this new development. And seeing city councilors literally look out to the crowd and not, and just vote opposite, and not have any respect for residents and voters, and understand that people are struggling. So that was really the impetus for me to be like, all right, enough is enough. We need more leadership that wants to focus on improving quality of life for residents, and wants to listen to residents and work with residents, not see them as a nuisance or an annoyance. And again, as a city councilor, like, definitely, if you're doing it for so long, I'm sure there are more things that you might be you might have access to more information, but that doesn't make residents' input invaluable. Right. And that's who you're there for. So, and I just found this inclusionary zoning ordinance just to be a complete just dismissal of what residents and community members were calling for.
Right.
And this attitude of, we know what's best, and the Worcester Chamber of Commerce knows what's best.
Yeah.
And then that's just not the case. It's yes, like economic development, things like that are like a piece of the puzzle, but it can't just be the only driving factor.
Yeah. Right. It seems like the city council and city hall in general has like a disdain for the public. That's pretty obvious. Like the city council, the way that it exists now, really feels like it's there as like a buffer against public will, more than it is like it's supposed to be the expression of it, but they just like hate it when residents try to get involved. And I am wondering if that's a systemic problem that you have felt and experienced in your time as an advocate and an activist around here.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's also a bit of like a, oh no, like a bit of an alarm that goes off when people in City Hall, feel some pressure, and I think sometimes maybe like there tends to be an overreaction too of that, of when they see like if they see just a group of concerned residents. Sometimes I think the folks at City Hall get like, oh no, they're outside with pitchforks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right. It could just be just a small group of citizens that are just concerned about something. But I just don't think there's not enough transparency. I think there's too much gatekeeping that goes on, and I think the more education, it just benefits everyone, especially educating about what's going on in the city. But like I was had interned under City Manager Mike O'Brien. I was not a good intern at all. I was
fine. He wasn't a good city manager, so it called him on the wall.
Yeah. You don't like CSX? All the trains coming by my house at 3 a.m. It's great. Thanks.
We have a port.
Yeah, we have a port. Yeah, but so like, but again, that was like I was going through a transition, like physically, where I was still walking but having a hard time. So it was just a kind of challenging time in my life. But I was answering phone calls, and some of the calls. So I can understand how sometimes people in City Hall could get jaded as well, because sometimes we would get some wild calls about like, there's flies in fairway beef. You need to get down here and
I can't even imagine.
yeah. So but that comes with the territory. So it's always like you definitely there's still calls I remember like to this day, just interesting, like the that one about fairway beef was hilarious. And the woman just started swearing at me on the phone. So that was so I was like, I'm sorry, man. But I just think there's this thing that goes on that's been this inferiority kind of complex where our leadership is worried that like we got to do whatever we can to bring in outside development. And I never thought like this type of development would happen this quick in Worcester. Like I know the gentrification conversation has been going on for a decade or more, and I was like, well, it's Worcester. Things take a while to change here. So I'm kind of like not alarming, but just like, oh wow, I didn't think we'd have this big boom all at once.
Right.
And that's why as we need city councilors that really like say, all right, let's look at the long-term effects of all this development. And how is that going to impact our communities? Like I was talking with a resident yesterday, and they're like that they're worried about all this new development, all these new apartments. Like, what's that going to do to our schools? They're already closing down. They've already closed down a lot of neighborhood schools, like Adams Street off of Shrewsbury Street, Dartmouth Street. So down in my neighborhood is Lakeview School, and that's one of the few like smaller neighborhood schools that are it's in rough shape. It's an old building. Like I went down to the celebration this past spring or early summer. It was great to see how wow, Lakeview's been here for 100 years, but also like, oh my god, this building is 100 years old.
Yeah.
And
they should have made some updates at some point.
Yeah, and there's like 20 coats of polyurethane on the stage. It's like 2 inches thicker than it was when I was there. So it's just like we got to work on investing more in infrastructure for schools, especially with accessibility. That makes me I really my old job, I used to when I was a skills trainer, I worked with kids, young adults in high school in the Worcester Public Transition to Adulthood program, and it's a great program, great staff. They really try to go the extra mile for the students, but there's a lack of resources. I think they're still based out of the basement of the Fanning building. I mean, we can do better by our kids.
But if we invested money in schools, how would that put us on the map?
I don't. It's not. Yeah. I mean,
that's the goal,
right?
I
don't know.
Yeah. Plus, we gotta leave a little room there for Old Sturbridge Village to get theirs.
Right. Yeah.
What's important?
Yeah. So that's actually that's in your district, actually.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously not
a
a city council issue really per se, but like I don't know. What are your general thoughts on how that all went down and the fact that that's going to be in your district if you get elected?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of charter schools at all. So it's just frustrating to see that like tax money and resources are going to go to this private institution. But yeah, no, I'm not a fan of charter schools at all. So
yeah.
But I know it's go ahead.
So, in your opinion, why is the local Catholic bishop so cool?
He's a very super cool guy.
Yeah. Do you agree with everything he says?
God, no. It's absurd. It's
great.
Ridiculous. It's archaic. It's like, dude, like, I don't know. I think it's just ridiculous. And it was great to see that rally, outside the diocese. But I don't like that. I think like there's still plenty of like Catholic churches that have like that are viewed as like community places, and that's great. Like I went to St. John's Church, and that was just when there was a priest there, Father Coonan, and when he was there, like there was a lot of people would come, and it felt like a real sense of community. He was just really personable and connecting with residents, and didn't have this holier than thou attitude. And I thought that was great. So to see some of these like really like archaic, heavy-handed stances by what's his name?
McManus.
McManus. That's right. Yeah.
The idiot bishop. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I don't have any tolerance for that at all. And I think it's just, it's unfortunate.
Well, it's a play for trying to shore up they're making a political play to try and get people to come back to the church. By being that's super cynical.
yeah, really.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
It's like it's like a D-list comedian becoming right wing, you know?
yeah.
I know there's an audience. Did that happen with me.
Who's the comedian that happened to? The guy Dennis Miller, right? Didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Did he go turn? Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, he got radicalized by 9/11 conspiracies first, and then very far
one time.
I mean, we basically have the Proud Boys due to failed stand-up comedy. I mean, there's a long history of comedians just ruining everything. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. Pretty much like the worst people. You know, we should round them up. I think, you know what? That's how we fix it. We should round them up.
I'm tacking further left so that I can stop doing comedy. That's my. I'm getting canceled going the other way.
Become a senator.
Yeah.
Just because Bill brought it up, so the bishop's house is closer to my side of the city, the private residence, and most of the summer they had a lawn sign for mosquito eradication in front of it. You know, one of the services that just like poisons your neighborhood to kill all the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
I just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Every day I drive by it, that like the guy who's supposed to be out here literally pontificating about like all of God's creatures and the sanctity of all of God's creatures as a sign, like except for these ones, we're just going to murder these creatures. That
right. Yeah.
Those creatures.
It's an act of God.
Big mosquito Marys guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but I read online, I saw a Facebook post about how it's the government which drops the mosquitoes off in the summer. They fly helicopters over the neighborhoods and they dump mosquitoes out. Rob, do you support that practice? Do you think the city hall should be dumping mosquitoes into neighborhoods via helicopter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa, absolutely.
We got him.
We got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. End of interview.
Candy, send that check over now.
So, we didn't bring you on the program to indulge in conspiracy theories or, frankly, to throw shade around, honestly. But do have to ask you.
Great though; they're fun.
You're up against two opponents, which, to my perspective, are very much two different sides of the same coin.
Yes.
They've kind of been engaged in a years-long battle over who is Mr. Shrewsbury Street, right? And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what is it that differentiates you from Candy Merrill Carlson and Philip Palmieri?
Oh, Jesus. So, I mean, number one, what differentiates me from them is I don't think Worcester revolves around Shrewsbury Street. That's the number one thing. I think Shrewsbury Street is a great place. It's awesome. There's so many like good restaurants and bars there. But that's not all of District 2. And I think there's plenty of other great neighborhoods in the city and great restaurants. I just think that that's been the focus of District 2, the east side, for a long time. And I understand the cultural significance and just like other neighborhoods. But I mean, there's plenty of District 2 is a big area and there's lots of great neighborhoods and lots of great communities in District 2. And I don't, personally, I, throughout my entire life, really paying attention to Worcester politics, I haven't seen that valued in our leadership in District 2. And I think there's more that we can do to improve quality of life in all our wards in District 2. I think they're improving street infrastructure and traffic safety measurements. If you go, the new program that they're rolling out with the speed humps, the seasonal program. But I think there's more we can do for like road diets and making sure, like, as traffic increases, that our streets are safer for everyone. And just, I think, being more inclusive and equitable. I see, as someone with a disability, I definitely see that there's like institutional barriers and things that are cause barriers for folks. So I mean, I think we just got to do more to reach out and be more inclusive and have leadership that works for everyone. So, but again, like the Shrewsbury Street thing, and it's just interesting. But no, I love going to Shrewsbury Street myself. I've been going there for years. It's a great place, but I don't think it's the end all be all.
Right. I mean, that's very much the impression that both Phil Palmieri and Katie Merrill Carlson give off, is that their constituency is Shrewsbury Street, and they have to ride hard for Shrewsbury Street as being like some sort of opposite of the West Side, and they have to like argue that there's too much money going to the West Side and has to come to Shrewsbury Street, and that seems like the extent of the political debate. Where was I going with that? Oh, I want to ask you, in terms of road safety, pedestrian safety, and accessibility, what are the worst roads in District 2? Like, what's your top wish list for redesigns and improvements?
Yeah, I think Lake Ave really needs some work, especially like the corner, like Lake Ave and Bigelow Davis Parkway. There's sections of Lake Ave that don't have sidewalks. I know North Lake Ave is really challenging because of the erosion that's going on there. But there's, I think maybe I got to do some real traffic studies to make sure, like Lake Ave is number one for me. I think we need like a traffic light or more pedestrian infrastructure for crossing signals down at the corner of Lake Ave and Bigelow Davis Parkway. Right. I'm trying to think of another one. North Parkway off of Burncoat Street is like a speedway now, and there's only a sidewalk on one side of the road, I believe. But again, there needs to be more to slow down traffic, because some of these side streets, and that's where I know you had reported about it, Bill, like there's the string of unfortunate pedestrian deaths are happen kind of outside of the downtown core, on again, Stafford Street, Lake Ave. I mean, they're speedways, and with the increase in traffic, we got to do more to slow folks down like that. Even Shrewsbury Street is, with all the lights, and I mean, there's stretches there where people fly. And that's how I officially know I'm getting older, because I was saying, "God, slow down." But I mean, I've been like crossing the street, and like a car will stop, and the car behind them will come around.
Right.
So like now I stop for like a good 5 seconds and wait, because I've almost got clipped before. It's ridiculous. But so I think definitely. I mean, in Hamilton Street too, there's, I think the green strips there, the grass strips, the median strips, I think we can do more to make those look better and maintain them more. But I mean, in Franklin Street, I know, what is it? Is it Northborough Street up there? Norfolk Street is, there's just a lot of straightaways that are treated like speedways. So I think that can come down to do some more police patrols too, maybe some radar guns. I know they used to be up on Hamilton Street a lot. But yeah, pedestrian and motor safety, we got to work on. But I wonder where you were saying, Bill, about like the whole east side, west side thing. I think that goes back to, that goes back like generations too, where I think historically for a while, like, the city did not invest that much like east of 290, but now that has officially changed. You know what I mean? And this older generations are still kind of stuck in that mindset. But now that, certain commercial districts are booming now, we got to turn our focus to, like, the Lincoln Street corridor used to be, much more lively than it is now, and we could invest more resources into these other neighborhoods,
right,
and really uplift everyone. So
one of the neighborhoods in D2, I hope I'm correct about this because I really should know, but D2 is the downtown. What we would consider the downtown is in D2. Right?
Yeah,
North Main Street is.
Oh, I have a. Let me look. I have a giant. I printed out a giant map.
Yeah. that sliver of North Main is,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to ask this. Why isn't that an actual downtown, in your opinion? I know that's a pointed question.
Yeah, it's struggled. No, downtown struggled for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it closes down after 5 p.m. There's just nobody there unless there's a show at the Palladium. That's it, and that really should be the core of the city. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on downtown and what would actually help give that a little juice, you know?
Yeah, I think I know they've been talking about having the 18-hour downtown for a while now, and it seems I think having all these businesses leave downtown, and I know that had a lot to do with the pandemic, and we don't get too much about that, but it's unfortunate to see a lot of these businesses leaving downtown where there's no lunch crowd anymore, and that's definitely affecting the businesses down there. I think it's like slowly getting better. We're seeing like some really great restaurants down there, like there's a Chashu and Dead Horse down there, and so I think it's picking up. But again, like with the Canal District and the Shrewsbury Street, and I think just because Worcester is geographically such a big city, that if we were more condensed, I think that would probably lead to like a more lively downtown. But it sucks to see like so many little businesses closing. The Owl Shop left. That was heartbreaking because I used to go there all the time and grab cigars, and that was like an institution too. That's what's that's what's sad to see. Like certain places leave and close down. But if we don't have like a good daytime crowd there and I think a wide range of different entertainment, then it's not gonna. I don't know if it's gonna improve, but I think with the emphasis now on the Canal District too, it's hard to like encourage businesses to shift. And it was funny, there was that article with the downtown bid over the summer kind of saying like nothing to see here, like everything in downtown is great.
Right, yeah, everything's fine. But
I think they do an awesome job in the summer with all the greenery and everything else. But yeah, there's definitely a challenge downtown. I know it seems to kind of come in waves. It seemed like for a few years there were a lot more businesses down there, and now there's been this outflux, this exodus. But it's cool to see the Midtown Mall kind of coming back. It seems like there's a lot of local businesses in there. I met a bunch of people that are in there, a bunch of North High guys, which is cool. So I think there's definitely some more stuff coming back. But I don't know. I think it comes down to property owners as well. I think there's some real challenging property owners down there.
Well, I think that we're kind of at time here. We're trying to keep these programs a little short, but I just wanted to give you opportunity. Vote. The election is on Tuesday. What's your pitch to voters? Why vote for Rob Vallata?
So I'm encouraging people to consider voting for me and vote for me because I'm really community focused. I've lived in Worcester my entire life. I'm really dedicated my personal and professional life to improving quality of life for Worcester residents and helping people in Worcester. I've always really believed in connecting with people and being transparent and accessible leadership is number one for me. But wanting to really invested in all of our communities and want to see Worcester grow in a more equitable way, that in a more inclusive way, and one that puts our people and our neighborhoods first, our small businesses first, everything that has made Worcester what we are. That's what we need to focus on, and that's what my campaign's really rooted in: is equity, inclusion, and focusing on our people.
That's great. So are you having any sort of event on Tuesday night? Is there anywhere I can go down and crack a beer?
Yeah, so we might be headed to Steel and Wire, the old Mix. I know that's another establishment that breaks my heart to see gone. Yeah. But I don't think we still got Vincent's and Rouse, and but yeah, I think we'll be down at Steel and Wire on Tuesday.
Cool.
And hopefully we'll be able to press on to November.
Right.
Awesome.
But yeah, so get out there and vote.
Yes, vote.
Vote.
There's 1 hour left of early voting today too at the library.
That's right.
So if you
it's so easy. It's set up
awesome,
great down there. I was there for like literally less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, they're great. You check in and then you bounce over to the room, and then it's a great. I think the early voting is awesome, and especially like for accessibility too. But I know the city clerk's office has done an awesome job making sure that all of our polling places are accessible for folks with disabilities. So yeah, if you can't vote now, get out and vote on Tuesday.
Great. All right. Well, anyone have anything to plug before we hit the dusty trail?
Yeah, people should come out. Sean and I are running a show at That's Entertainment, the first ever comedy show at That's Entertainment in their new space that they're taking over. So We're very excited. We have Dan Telfer, who's an amazing comedian. He's also the DM, the dungeon master for Brian Posehne's podcast, Nerd Poker, D&D podcast. So kind of a perfect booking for that. So
Yeah,
go on out to
sure.
that
That's
September
awesome.
10th. We got tickets available now.
Roll the bones.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Rob, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, you got any jokes about the police chief you want to share before we
No.
head out? Wow, that's a shame.
Yeah. Do you want
his retirement?
Yeah. Do you want to comment on whether or not Phil Palmieri is a Matrix vampire or?
Yeah, those are his sunglasses. Phil's an interesting guy.
Look at him. All right, Rob's already a politician. Look at him. Phil's an interesting guy.
No, I just feel like he did it for a long time. It's like give up the ghost or just Phil should enjoy his retirement as well.
Right.
I don't
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Rob's turn, everybody.
But,
Yeah.
Maybe Phil and the chief could go in halvesies on a Airbnb or something and just have a nice little side hustle.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you
Thanks,
everyone for joining us. Thank you, Rob, for coming on. This has been a rousing edition of the Worcester Sucks Power Hour, and I hope you guys all have a great. Is it Labor Day weekend?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
For everyone but the
Forever.
chief of police.
Everyone but the chief of police is going to have a great weekend this weekend. That's great. All right. And we will be back on Tuesday, I believe, for the election results. We'll come on and do a stream on Tuesday night, see how it goes. So.
Nice.
Yeah, follow WCT
Cool, guys.
3000 for more details.
Great.
Thanks for coming on, Rob. Vote Tuesday.
Thanks, guys.